So this is a project. I have too many projects for sure right now. So it's a little bit insane to think about casting on more projects. I'm not yet. I'm not going to start anything else yet. Maybe. We'll see. Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Nitty Natty. Welcome to episode 260 of the Love and Stitches podcast. I have 3 new projects to show you today, including some spinning. I am very excited about that. It's the first week of a new month, or the first week of a new month has passed, so I've cast on a lot of things. I also have a finished object, so lots to share today. I guess I'll start with what I'm wearing. So this is the Twisted Tea shirt by Brioche Loop, aka the Little Wolf Knits. I knit it out of a yarn pack from Ruby and Roses. It was like a mini skein pack that I did these tiny 2-row stripes and then a coordinating full skein for like all the contrast. It also has contrast on the hem. I wear it all the time. I love this t-shirt. I really need to make more like versions of it. I think I finished this one summertime last year, and it's gotten tons and tons of wear. Before we get into the projects, I want to say a big thank you to today's podcast sponsor, Lume. Lume has you covered from head to toe to keep you smelling fresh all day long. My favorite Lume product is hands down the deodorant wipes. I'm a morning shower person, whatever. I shower in the morning, but I like to feel clean before I put on my PJs. So I'll use my Lume deodorant wipes to just clean off the grime before getting into bed. But they're also super handy for the gym or when you just want to freshen up throughout the day. And they've been wonderful for traveling and stretching time in between showers. The whole body deodorant I found super useful for my feet. You just take a small amount and rub it anywhere that you have odor. There's also a spray and a stick deodorant. Both go on smooth and leave no residue on the skin. And it comes in all sorts of amazing scents like clean tangerine, lavender sage, and one of my favorites, toasted coconut. Lume was invented by OBGYN Shannon Klingman, and it has been clinically proven to block body odor all day and continue controlling BO for 72 hours. It's a deodorant you can use anywhere you need it. Lume's Starter Pack Bundle is a great deal for new customers. It comes with a full-size stick deodorant, a cream deodorant tube or spray deodorant, 2 free products like the wipes or mini body wash, free US shipping, and just for my followers, Lume is offering an extra $5 off when you click the link in the description and enter code NITTY at checkout. That's a deal of over 40% off. Thanks again to Lume for keeping me smelling good, and now let's get into the projects. My Yorkshire blanket is finished. Look how pretty it looks all folded up. So many colors. Actually, I will put in a photo of it laying out on the bed blocking so you can see it in its entirety because it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to show you the full size of it here on camera. And Toaster has already claimed this blanket. It wasn't even done drying yet, and he was laying on top of it. Even this morning, I was getting some final measurements to see how big the blanket is after it completely dried. I had it folded up on the bed. I turned to my computer to start opening up Ravelry so I could add that to my Ravelry notes. I turned back and he's curled up in the middle of it. So this is going to be another blanket that I will, of course, share with him. I even washed his actual blanket this week, but whatever. So this is the Yorkshire Crochet Along blanket by Mima Makes. Let's look back at kind of the history of this project. So I started this one on November 29th. It was my December Advent project. So every single day I was pulling a mini skein out and I was making a square. At least that was my goal from essentially December 1st to Christmas. And I started a little bit early just because I filmed my Vlogmases a couple of days ahead of time so that it's easier for us to get them edited. So I started on November 29th. And then I finished it this weekend on February 1st. So just over 2 months of crocheting, which I think is not bad. And the kind of timeline of that was mostly, for the most part, I did 1 square a day for 24 days or 24 squares in this blanket. I took a break around Christmas and New Year's. And then in January, I started to join the squares together. And again, I kind of had a goal of like 1 square per day, or like 1 row of squares per week, which was 6 squares per week. And then I kind of zoomed through that. On the last week, I did 2 rows, and then I did the border. That's the newest part that is done. I think in the last podcast, yeah, everything was joined. I just hadn't done the border yet. So let's talk about that, because I followed the pattern to a T. I've said this before, this is a stunning pattern. Like, the pattern itself is beautiful, but the way the pattern is written and the accompanying video tutorials and photos are just the best. Like, the clearest, I feel like I can say that confidently, the clearest crochet pattern I've ever worked. It is so good. If you are somebody who has some basic, like, foundational skills for crochet, you already know how to work a granny square. You can double crochet, single crochet. You're familiar with some stitches. I think this is a great project to expand your skills. So even the squares are kind of like scaffolded. So it starts with one of the easiest squares where you need the least amount of like prerequisite skills, and then you kind of add on to it, and every single square has its own video. So this pattern is top notch. I enjoyed every single minute of it. So much fun. So I followed everything to a T, the joining, all of that, up until the border. I did change the border. The original border has this cute, like, scalloped puff stitch edge. And I know a few of you were like, you have to do that edge. It's so cute. It needs it. And I agree. It's really cute, but it just didn't feel like the style of this blanket, because I feel like this is kind of a mix of modern and traditional, because the blanket itself, the patterns itself are more traditional. The border is very traditional, but I chose to use my Pretty Twisted Yarns 2023 Neon Rainbow Advent. And so it's very modern and bright and fun. And I wanted sort of a clean, simple, contemporary border to match that. So that's what I did. So it's really actually quite simple what I did, and I put the notes in my project page as well. So for the border, let's take a closer look. I followed, so this first round is part of the joining, and then I followed the first round of the border according to pattern. All I added onto it is I did a round of double crochet, and then I finished it with reverse single crochet or crab stitch. So that's what you see at the top right here, is that reverse single crochet. I think it's kind of, to me, it's kind of the equivalent of putting an I-cord border on your knitted items. It's just like kind of clean, kind of crisp, a little more texture. Of course, I could have put an actual I-cord on this, but I didn't want to. I wanted it to feel very crocheted. Even though there is a crochet I-cord, it looks like knitting, so I wanted to do this, and I think it looks so good. What's really cool, and I didn't realize, is that it kind of matches the joining. So in between the 2 squares, there's this cool joining technique. Again, there's a video on it in the pattern. It looks like this. I feel like the way I chose to do the border really mimics that. It's not identical, but it still has that kind of look of like the double crochets on either side, something different in the middle. So I'm just really, really happy with how this turned out. And it's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. Let me see, I wrote down my final measurements. Final measurements, 35 inches in width and 54 inches long. So in that picture where I had it laid out on our bed, this is a king size bed. So width-wise, it's like about half of the top of the bed. And then lengthwise, it's not quite as long as the bed. It basically went from the foot of the bed, like, up to my pillow. So this is gonna be a really great lap blanket. I'm really happy with it. Back to the border, because I forgot to mention, I did try another border. I asked last week if anyone had any border suggestions, and you guys gave me a few, and I looked them up and I tried a couple things. So I tried the crab stitch. That was the first thought that I had in my head and what I ultimately went with. But then I tried kind of like a ribby border. So this one is just 2 double crochets and then a front post double crochet. And you repeat that a few times. And it kind of creates this like almost rib-like look, and the front post stitches stick out. And it looks really cool, but I didn't think it blended with my blanket. Like, if you start that border right at the edge of a square, I think it would look really great, but I didn't really prefer it for my blanket. It also was a little bit loose. So if you try that border, or any border really, sometimes you have to switch your hook size to get the tension to match because you're doing a totally different stitch to match everything else. So I did try a couple things and I landed on this and I'm really, really happy with this. So yeah, I have a new blanket, or rather probably Toaster has a new blanket for his collection. This was so much fun. 11 out of 10, could not recommend this pattern more. I have made a ton of progress on my BeachComber Flares, which is a pattern by the Little Wolf Knits, same as the Twisted Tea. And I have 2 pant legs now. So these are going to be flare pants. Actually, I'm wearing the flare pants today that I kind of like modeled these after, or I've kind of taken like the measurements from. So there's something I forgot to mention last week, and that is that there is a pattern update for this pattern. Brianna has added in short row shaping to the back. You actually do it like right after the waistband here. I think some of her other pants patterns already have this short row shaping, but this was one of the first ones. I had already gotten down to the leg split when that pattern update came out, so I actually just added the short rows in right before the leg split. So I think any kind of a little bit of extra fabric for your backside can be helpful. I think even in future patterns of these that I make, I might even add a few more rows because I feel like I need a little more. When I try this on, the back part is kind of pulling down. Granted, I haven't blocked these yet, so I'm going to see what happens when I actually block them. But I have been trying them on a lot. So I have done just a little bit on the right leg. Once I had incorporated, I had like split off the yarn that I had left from the body part of it into right and left legs, or whichever one is which. Leg 1 and leg 2. And then I started incorporating in my new skeins of yarn, which I had also split in half to 250-gram skeins. The reason being is I want the legs to look very similar. So I didn't want to use one skein for one leg, one skein for another leg, and they look totally different. So I took what was left of here, I split it, and then I took a new skein and I split it, and then I incorporated that in. So once I had incorporated in all of the leftover from the body and I just had one skein attached, I moved over to my other leg, started that one, picked that one up, and then they really started looking like pants. And I've done a lot on that leg. I've just finished incorporating in everything from the skein that I split from the body. So now I just have one skein attached to this leg, one skein attached to this leg, and that's been really, really nice. Because now I can try it on whenever I want. I'm doing magic loop on the 2 legs. And I would say, even though it looks like a lot of length, I'm probably only halfway down my thigh at this point. So I've got a little ways to go, but I'm almost done with the thigh decreases. Then when I get to that point, I'm just going to be going in the round, in the round, in the round, kind of like a sock almost. So that'll be really great. It'll become very portable knitting. I do want to finish these by mid-February. My loose goal is by Valentine's Day. That's only 10 days away as I'm filming this. So what I need to do is sit down and figure out how many inches of knitting I have left, plus any of the finishing work or days that I need to like block it. So I am going to have a lot of knitting ahead of me if I want to meet that goal. When I actually sit down and figure out the math, it may not even be reasonable to finish it by the 14th, but I have that goal because I have so many other things I want to work on this month. And I think we'll get into my new projects here next, but I have 2 more projects that I want to start. Is it 2? There's 2 projects I'm not even going to talk about today that I talked about last week that I want to get started. So I just have so much knitting I want to do. I want to kind of push through the boring parts of this. I say boring in quotes because it's just plain knitting, but I'm still excited to work on these every day. But I know I feel like at some point in every project, you kind of hit a slog. And so I want to get ahead of that and just kind of push through this project, get all the straight knitting done, get to the flares, get to the exciting bit, and have a finished pair of pants very soon. I have started one of my February projects. One of my loose goals in the back of my mind this year is to kind of enjoy things in the present and work on like seasonal items that are fun, like my Woolen Women box. So this is the Woolen Women box from February that I received last month and opened on the on a podcast. And as soon as I got it, it's called Rodeo and Romance. I was like, oh, I have to make something in February because it would be perfect. It's pink, it's cute, it's adorable, but I didn't really know what I wanted to make yet. So this is going to be a familiar pattern to most of you, I'm sure, but I am making a Musselburgh hat. So I've just cast on and started. I'm not even done with my increases yet. If you haven't seen this hat pattern before, it is a double layered hat that you can do lots of customization with. You start at one crown, you increase until you get your full stitch count, then you knit straight in a tube for like ever. I usually do 19 inches for mine because I like it to be a little slouchy and also have a fold up brim, and I'm planning to do that for this one. Once you get all that straight knitting done, then you decrease for the other crown, close it up, and you fold it inside itself, and you have this really practical, warm, cozy, cute, double layered hat. So I started it this week because I'm teaching a Musselburgh class at Bliss Yarns, my local yarn store. And we had our first class this week. And so I taught the cast on and the increases, and I learned some things. I actually learned a new cast on this week. It's still the pinhole cast on. I have a tutorial on my channel for the crochet pinhole cast on, but I wanted to learn a version that didn't need a crochet hook. So I learned the knitted pinhole cast on, and it was a challenge. I had done one before that was different from this. The tutorial that I used, I'll try to remember to put it in my project page, but it was actually a lot easier. But even then, I found myself tweaking a couple things. So potentially, if I can find a way that makes that first stitch really easy, in addition to like the other things I kind of tweaked on it, I might make my own tutorial video so that I have a crochet and a knitted version of the cast on available, like as a resource. So I might do that. So for this one, I am using Woolen Women Fibers. This is the yarn that came in the kit. Woo! So Woolen Women Fibers, and they named the color Rodeo and Romance. Super cute. And this is their fingering weight base, 80-20 fingering weight base. Really, really pretty color. It also came with 2 10-gram skeins, which I've already wound up. And what I'm planning to do is make one brim this color and one brim this color. So I will have 2 hats that have this as the crown. And then one, if I wear it one way, it'll look like this. If I wear it the other way, it'll look like that. I've never done a Musselburgh hat like that. My thing when I'm making Musselburgh hats is every single one is slightly different. I haven't made any that are exactly the same, and that makes them to like continue to be very fun for me to make. And they're just also a really perfect portable project. So I'll be working on this guy here and there. It's not really a priority project, but I wanted to get this yarn cast on and used in the month of February and also work on it for the class. This next project is actually very similar because I've also started it for a class. This one is for 11 Stitches membership class because we are learning brioche. So we're technically doing a brioche make-along in March, but in order to prepare for that, where we're going to be doing more advanced brioche techniques, I wanted to teach a beginner's brioche workshop, and we had lots of people in attendance for the class that I taught yesterday, which was really exciting and fun for me. So lots of teaching this week. Actually, it's kind of cool. So we picked out a pattern. It's a free pattern called Brioche Loop. It is by Tanya Steinbach, and I had to modify a few things because I realized that it actually isn't full brioche. It's actually a half brioche stitch, where on one row you do like traditional brioche, on the next row you still do your slip one yarn overs, I think, but you just purl. I can't remember. Honestly, it's something I haven't done before. It's a cool pattern. It's a really beautiful, again, free pattern. I knew I was going to tweak some things because it's a charted pattern and I wanted to have written instructions for anyone who's new to brioche. So basically I ended up changing everything about it from the cast on number to the stitches. And we're just kind of doing a cowl that is 2-color brioche. So that's what things kind of ended up being. So for now, I have the pattern or my project page has the Brioche Loop tagged in it, because it was inspired by that. But if I don't end up doing the cables that are in it, I will probably just remove that association because, again, like I said, the stitch count's not the same. The stitches are not the same. It's not the same thing. So just an explanation for what's happening there. So we just did this class yesterday and got a few rows done in class. So you really can't, oh my goodness, you really can't see much of the brioche yet, but I am loving the two colors that I picked. I got these yarns at Bliss Yarns, and they are Ruby and Roses in her plump rose base. So hold on, let me grab the tags. So this one is Rosy Cheeks, which is the same color that I did my Nordlig cardigan in. And then this one is called Material Girl. Love both of these colors. Really, really love them together. So this is a project. I have too many projects for sure right now. So it's a little bit insane to think about casting on more projects. I'm not yet. I'm not going to start anything else yet. Maybe. We'll see. I need to kind of figure out like, okay, not all of these are going to get done this month, but what do I want to get done? Really want to get the pants done. I want to work on my projects, my Brioche Loop and the Musselburgh because I'm teaching the classes. But then, as you're going to see, I've got this other project that I'm working on daily that I'm equally obsessed with, and the two others that I want to do. Last thing here, I am getting back into my spinning. I learned to spin in November of last year, and I've really only done one project since then. And I have a new spinning project that I am starting, or I started on February 1st. Therefore, I had to finish up my first spinning project. So I want to show that first, and then I'll talk about the new spinning project that I'm doing. So this is my very first independent spin. So this is not the very first thing I spun. I did spin like a little practice skein. It was very small. It took me a week to do. And then this is the very first one I did on my own. So I had some kind of like short, what are they called? Braids. Some braids that Brianna gave me. She's the one who taught me to spin, that were short. They were not a full 4 ounces, I think is what it is. So she gave them to me. One was bare and one was this beautiful like purple and pink colors. And I spun them up and I kind of played with color and practiced splitting the braid different ways. And then I got them all totally out of order. So I have no clue which one went first and how I did each one. The lesson learned for the next project that I'm going to be doing. But anyway, they all came out so pretty and like so different. And obviously underneath each of these layers, things are different as well. So some came out like more pink, some came out more purple, some, because I split the braid, you know, in more pieces, have shorter stripes to them. I don't know. It's just going to be super interesting to see how this actually comes out. So I need to, now that these are done and they have sat for a couple of days, I just had to finish plying. I think it was like 30 or 45 minutes of plying and this was done, but I needed to clear my bobbins. So after this was done, oh, actually I have right here too. Let me pull this off. I have my little makeshift Lazy Kate that I made for $1. I'm very proud of myself. This was what's left. So just to give you an idea of like what one ply looked like. And then don't remember, I think this was the last one I was plying. So what it looks like plied. Very interesting. But what I need to do next is I need to get these off of the bobbins and I need to soak them. I need to let them dry and then I can wind them up and make something. I think what I want to do, I probably have more yarn than I need for a project like this, but I think I want to make a hat. I think I'm going to make the Manhattan hat by Tori Yu. It's a project that I've made before, but I've seen her make one recently out of her own hand spun, and I feel like it's just a really great project to show off. And it's all ribbed, so I feel like it will be forgiving because this definitely has different thicknesses and twists to it, but it'll be a really good learning experience, especially as I go into my second spin. Okay, so I am super excited for this. I got a fiber countdown for the month of February. It is from the Little Wolf Knits. I know this is a Little Wolf Knits heavy episode, but she has inspired me to spin, so it does make sense. But I got a Little Wolf Knits countdown, and every day I'm opening up an ounce of fiber. So you can see what the countdown looks like. I have it laid out on a little like buffet in our room here. And so every day I'm opening up an ounce of fiber, I'm splitting it in half, and I am winding. I am spinning half of that. So I'm doing a fractal spin, I think is what it's called. So I'm spinning half of it all together, and it's a combo spin. And these are all like new words I'm learning. It's a combo spin. So the fiber changes every day. I think it will rotate. So far I've had Falkland and I've had Rambouillet, and it's really fun to feel the difference between spinning those different wool fibers. They are very different, which is super interesting, and they're different colors, which is fun. So the theme for this is how to lose a guy in 10 days. I think I did say that already. And so that's also been fun to like read the different names, but I'm also just enjoying the spinning because I haven't actually spun in a while. I've been plying, but I don't really know if I've been spinning for at least a few weeks. So it's been fun to get back into that. So this is what I have so far, my days 1 and 2. So day 1 was the pink color you can see underneath here. Day 2 is the green, and I am ready to do day 3. And then the half ounce that I'm not spinning right now, I will come back to it later. So I didn't feel like I could reasonably spin that much, a full ounce every single day. It takes me about an hour to spin half an ounce, and that's enough of a daily commitment. I already have all these other things I want to do in February. So that takes me about an hour. Then I have a whole other half ounce. And what I'm going to do with that one is I'm actually going to split it in half again and spin it. I think Brianna told me to spin it days 1 to 28 and then 28 back to 1. And then I'll apply these two together. The other reason that I don't want to spin that much fiber every day is because my bobbins are tiny. They are so small. They can only hold 2 ounces of fiber, which is not a lot. Each day is an ounce. So I'm going to need in total 28 days, 14 bobbins just to hold all the single plies. And then I have to ply everything together. So this is a very, very tiny, very useful, very great for travel, but tiny e-spinner. It's definitely making me think about getting a larger e-spinner, investing in something a little bigger, especially something that can move what is it even called? I don't know. Again, I'm learning all the words for this, but like for this one and for a lot of spinners, you have to move these little clips where, and that guides where your ply wraps around the bobbin. So you have to constantly move it, right? And try to get things to be even. But there's a tool called a flyer. It doesn't go on this machine, but it can go on the bigger ones where it moves it for you consistently. And I think that would be really nice. So I'm thinking about it. It's very expensive. It's a big investment. So I really wanted to see, how do I like spinning? How do I like knitting with my hand spun? And I think all that is TBD, to be determined still. So, but I'm just starting to think about it, think about maybe getting one, end of this year, maybe. I don't know. I have no clue yet, but I'm enjoying so much spinning again. And I'm really going to try hard to stay consistent and spin up that half ounce every single day of February. We have a lot of good stuff for the news segment this week, so let's go ahead and get into it. So first of all, we have our 50th and final state yarn tour coming up this weekend. So this is going to be the last yarn store tour premiere on Saturdays. You can join us at noon this Saturday, February 8th. We are going to Yarnbirds in Ohio. Ohio is our final state. We kind of saved this one for last because they have a yarn truck, which is an RV that they have converted into a yarn store, and it just felt really close to like what we were doing living in the van for the past year. So we're really excited to share that one with you. They also do have a brick and mortar as well, but there's just so much to see in this tour. So please come and join us, or catch it later if you would like to. So I am planning to do a video. I don't know exactly when it's going to be, but I want to do a video that kind of is like a summarization and like looking back on this journey that we went on for the last year, going to all 50 states. I think we went to, I looked at the number the other day, but like 150 plus yarn stores. I mean, we did so much in such a short amount of time. And honestly, we did it so fast that sometimes we didn't really get to like, we experienced it, we were there, but then like it didn't like solidify in my brain. It's, kind of that weird concept where like you're going through things and you don't experience them the same way because you're just like doing. So I really want to do a video to reflect on things for myself, for Kent, but also to just share more of like the behind the scenes of everything that we were doing, share more about the yarn stores, share more about the parks that we went to, just share more about the trip in general. So what I need from you is questions to answer. So if you want to hear any details about our 50 states project, if you want to know like what was it like to film, what did that entail, ask us questions about travel, ask us questions about the parks. I also kind of want to do like I want to do something that I can shout out a lot of these stores and like share more things about them. So if you want to ask questions about yarn stores, like what's the best yarn store for X, I don't know, like a destination trip, or like to find locally dyed yarn, or I don't know, just anything. Please put your questions here in the comments on this video, and I will be gathering them up. And at some point, hopefully in February, but maybe in March, Kent and I will sit down together and we'll film a big long reflection video on our 50 states trip. We're kind of planning like a little celebration, just the two of us, just going to dinner after our tour premieres on Saturday to celebrate that we set out to do this project and we did it. Like it was a big project. It was so much fun, but it was also so much work. And so I was just really want to celebrate that we did it and that everything happened and that we got all the videos out. And we have actually more than 50 videos on that playlist because we went to at least one place in all 50 states, but in some states we went to more places. So there's so much on there. And any tours that we did ahead of our 50 states project, I tried to add on there. There was just a few of them, but I wanted them to be included as well. And just a reminder that I have a map on nittynatty.com where you can look at, it's a Google map, you can look at it, and all the yarn stores that we've been to are tagged with little yarn balls. And if you click the yarn ball, the video pops up and you can watch the video to get a little preview of the store. Okay, that was a lot for that. Next thing, I have something pretty exciting to show you. Okay, let me pull all this up. So you may or may not be familiar with one of my designs. It is called the float tote. It's a crochet pattern. I'm actually working on this one right now because I'm finally rewriting the pattern. I am adding so much more to it. I'm planning to record a video tutorial to go along with it. I'm also planning a make along for us in a couple of months. But anyway, this is called the float tote. It's called the float tote because I designed it to be a project bag that you can keep your projects that have multiple skeins, especially colorwork. Colorwork has floats, that's why it's the float tote. So the thing about this bag, it looks kind of like an ordinary bag, but you can fold it down like this. And inside, again, I'm working on this one currently, so it's got lots of ends and stuff. Inside, you have a little tray. On the tray, you have 3 to 5 little yarn cups. And these cups, when I'm finished with them, it'll have a little magnetic snap where it stays on, so it like stays in the bag. But you can put your cakes of yarn into here. This will fit 100 grams of like fingering weight to DK. And then it just all sits inside here. So you work on your project. You can even like rotate it, as you're working so that your ends don't get tangled. When you're done, you just dump your project back inside, fold it back up, it's very handy and very convenient. So a lot of people have said to me, well, do you have a knitted version of that? And my answer is no, because knitting does not create the same fabric. It is not, to me, I don't think it's rigid enough. I don't know. I guess I can't say never, but no, not right now. What I do have though is, oh, I'm so excited for this, is a sewn version of the float tote. But honestly, I think even better. So let me start by telling you that this is not mine. I do not sew. One of my Love and Stitches members, Teresa, reached out to me. It's been, I don't know how long it's been, but she reached out to me when I shared, I really wish there was another way that people could make float totes, because I don't have the skills to do anything but crochet. I can knit, but I don't think the knitting pattern is going to work. And so she sews, and she said, well, maybe I can work up a sewn float tote pattern. That way, people who want to sew can get the pattern and they can make their own float tote this way. And it also is just even more versatile. It's even bigger. It's lighter. There's so many great things about it. So she's been working on this design for a long time, and she now has it available as a pattern download. So I don't know much about sewing, so I'm going to read from her listing. It says, it's called the Float Your Boat Tote. It is inspired by the Crocheted Float Tote. It has a PDF sewing pattern instructions to print and assemble the pattern templates. It is not for the finished product, of course. So this is going to be a pattern. I will have it in my Etsy shop because I've already got it established, but all the profit from these are going to go to Teresa. But I want to show you the tote pattern. So this is the smaller version. She made this one for me with the little campers on it. So it's got nice long handles that you can put over your shoulder. Amazing. It's got a big box bottom that stands up nicely. It has a zippered pocket. I'm telling you, this thing has so many great things. Has a zippered pocket in the front. Little pocket. And then on the inside, it's got even more pockets, and you can snap. It has like these snaps on the side to kind of keep it a little more stiff and like stood up like that. Pretty cool, right? But if you unsnap it, you can actually fold it down, which is wonderful. This one hasn't been folded down very much, but you can fold it down. Super cool. And then inside, there are more pockets for like scissors and notions, and a tray and cups. So we've tested these out. These fit your 100-gram cakes. It has, what is this called? Like that stiff stuff. I can't remember what it's called. I'll come up with it someday. But it has a stiff bottom that goes into the tote bag, and then the cups have the magnetic snaps on them so that they stay down nicely. Work with me here, camera. There we go. So that they actually stay down when you're pulling your yarn from them. They don't just like topple over, which is super, super great. So the smaller size one has space for 4 cups in it. You can also, I've actually used these bags without the cups. I just take the whole tray out and then you just use the bag, which is fantastic, very versatile. But she also made a massive one. So if you're like a blanket knitter, you just want to have everything together in one, look at the size of this tote. It is massive. It has all the same things. It has the zipper pocket on the front. It has the snaps. It has the big over the shoulder strap. It is huge. And it has space for 6 cups on the inside. Are these not the coolest? I am so in love with these bags. I took the cups and tray out, and I used this bag when we went to Florida in December to put all of my projects into, because it is such a massive, great bag. This one is probably a little more reasonable for like taking around with you, taking to your local yarn store, whereas that one would be so great for multiple projects, or again, take the tray out and you can use it for a large project. Anyway, such a great pattern. I'm so impressed. Teresa, thank you. So if you are somebody who sews and you want to make one of these bags, you can get the pattern. It's going to be on my Etsy shop. I don't believe I can put it on Ravelry because it's not knitting or crochet, but we decided we would put it on my Etsy shop since I already have the store. And again, every single sale of the Float Your Boat tote is going to go to Teresa because she is the one who created this pattern. So thank you, Teresa. I'm so excited. I've had these for, oh gosh, I think actually we saw each other in Ohio. So I've had these since November, and I'm just so excited to be able to share them. They're super, super great. Okay, what else do we have going on? I think I have a little bit more news. Yes, the Sock Week application is opening this Friday, February 7th. So if you are somebody who wants to apply to sponsor Sock Week, that application will be open for 2 weeks. So it'll close on February 21st at the end of the day. So I will put the link down below. The form will be closed until February 7th, but if it's February 7th, probably mid-morning or a little bit later, you can apply to that. Make sure that before you apply, there's a lot on there. I think you can save your progress, but I'm not 100% sure. So you'll need to go ahead and have like your ideas for what you want to make. Our theme this year is ice cream social. So kind of have that in mind when you apply. Okay, last thing, I have a couple of events to share about. We're starting the countdown to Nash Yarn Fest. It's on March 14th and 15th here in Nashville, Tennessee. This is the first year for this fiber festival, and I am planning to attend. I'm really excited, so hopefully we'll see some people there. Kent and I are planning to make a vlog on Saturday when we go for the marketplace, so I'll be sharing about it. Whether you're able to come or not, you'll be able to experience Nash Yarn Fest and see what it's all about. And then one more thing, I shared last week about the Carolina Alpaca Celebration and Parade, that it was coming up this weekend, February 8th, and I have since learned that it has been canceled. So thank you for those of you who let me know. So that is no longer going on, unfortunately. Let's end with some highlights from the week. Honestly, I've pretty much shared with you all of my highlights this week because we've done almost nothing interesting other than knitting and crocheting and spinning. I have really relied on knitting and crochet and spinning to get me through this week. It wasn't the best week. Nothing really terrible happened. I just had like a high anxiety week. Also had a day where I wasn't feeling well, just normal, average, everyday things, which made for a very boring week other than the things that I already shared with you. I have one more exciting thing though. So my brother-in-law, Kent's brother, went to New Zealand a couple of months ago. And if you know anything about New Zealand, they have a lot of sheep in New Zealand. So he really wanted to get me something yarn related while he was there as a gift. And of course, I wasn't really expecting, I don't know, I didn't know what I was expecting. I thought he might get me like a skein of yarn. He pulled out all the stops and got me a bunch of stuff from New Zealand, so I wanted to share that with you. I'm actually only going to share the yarn. He also got us some chocolates. It's like a chocolate brand that's, I guess, really well known in New Zealand. He got Toaster a toy. He got Kent like a jersey. But me, he got me yarn. So the first thing he got me are these two beautiful skeins of hand-dyed yarn. They are from a New Zealand dyer called Roxy Fibers. And the store he went to, actually, I think it's on this bag. And I don't know how to say this. I should have looked it up before. Wanaka? I don't know. That's the name of the town. But Wools of this town, city, is where he went. So Roxy Fibers was the first one he got. And this is wait, hold on. It says MWNZ Merino. So I don't know what the MW is, but I'm guessing the NZ is New Zealand Merino, which is really cool. 80% merino, 20% nylon. This color is called Tutti Frutti, and this one is called Everglades. It's really pretty. So I think I might put this into my travel blanket. I don't know. Obviously, I didn't travel to New Zealand. It's not part of our 50 states project. So maybe I won't. Maybe I'll save it for something different. But I'm still trying to figure out, or I'm going to be figuring out at some point how to finish my travel blanket. And I might need some more yarns to add to it. So these are contenders for sure, but these are really pretty. He did a great job picking out the colors. I love them, and I will definitely find a great use for them. The other yarn he got for me, maybe I'll give you a second to just think about what unique fiber might be in this yarn as I gather it out. So here you go. 3, 2, 1. Possum. This is possum yarn, and I've got 4 skeins of it. It's a DK weight, nice gray color. Again, I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet, but I definitely have enough to make something. This is 20% New Zealand brushtail possum, 80% fine merino. There's the proof right there. Right? It looks like this. It's soft. Obviously, it's 80% wool, so it's mostly wool. But I would never, ever, ever, oh, come back. I would never guess possum, ever. In fact, I'd only heard of this once before. I think it was when we were at Boston Fiber Company. They had a possum yarn from New Zealand, I think, or maybe Australia. Oh, I might be wrong about that. But I'd only heard of it once before, but I've never gotten the chance to knit with it myself, so I am very excited about that. From what I understand, the possums there are not quite the same as the possums here. They have like a different kind of hair, fur, whatever, and it's really soft. So this is so cool. He did such a good job picking out yarns for me. I think he spent time talking to people at the store, finding something that would be unique for me, and I'm just delighted to be able to work with this stuff, something I would never have gotten the chance to do myself. So thank you so much to my brother-in-law, and I thought you would think that was interesting to see. All right, that's everything for today's episode. I'm gonna run because I need to go work on all of these projects. I am going to be doing more organization with my yarn knitting tools, getting things back up on the shelves in the coming weeks. So if you haven't watched the one I did last week yet, I'll put my organization playlist up here. You can follow along with all the yarn organization that's happening and hopefully some project planning coming in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!